Bruce, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you, Billy.
I always love getting a chance to sit down with you and talk with you. And you've always got an interesting project going on. But I have to tell you, this is a little different, this Banking on Love film that you are in. People are used to seeing you as Jesus, as a biblical character, but mostly as Jesus in different forms from the encounter down the line. And in this movie, you play a little bit of a different kind of role. Can you tell us about that?
Well, in short, I play a very disgruntled, bitter, aging father. And so it is quite a departure from my usual role as Jesus and those kinds of characters. It's kind of interesting. In terms of portraying Jesus, to me, and I think we've talked about this before, Billy, it's not acting, it's a ministry. It's representing the living God. And I approach it very, very differently. I don't approach it from a performance standpoint. I don't approach it from an artistic standpoint. That having been said, I'm a trained actor. It's what I do. And it's something that I love to do, but I rarely get the chance to actually do it because because I'm very happily typecast in the role of Jesus, and I mean it's the greatest honor. So, as an actor, to have the opportunity to play a disgruntled, aging, bitter man was a whole lot of fun. I'll be honest with you,
and it's totally different. But it's totally different from who you are. I mean, that's what's so interesting about it. No, it is. I mean, the person you are.
That by my family, but I hope so.
I mean, it's totally different, and it's interesting to me. I love what you said there about that difference. And this is an acting role in Banking on Love, right? You're playing this disgruntled person who is truly very different from who you are, and then you get to play Jesus and all these other arenas, but that is a ministry. And that is something, I mean, I don't think there's anybody else around who has played Jesus to the level and the range in which you have. Am I wrong about, I mean, are there I don't know of any other actors who have done what you've done as Jesus. What is that like to be that person who's had a chance to do that?
It's I've been asked that kind of question many times, and I struggle to find an answer for it. It's an honor beyond honors. It's very humbling. There's a great responsibility. The way I see it is I'm literally representing the living God to people who need him. And so I take that very, very seriously. And I to say it's a blessing beyond words that I've been asked to represent the Lord in this very unique way many times. I'm just honored beyond honored.
So when it comes to a movie like, Banking on Love, what goes into your decision-making process? Obviously, when it's a movie, that you're going to be playing Jesus, there are also projects that you direct and produce. But when it comes to another movie like this that hits your desk, what is it that sort of leads you to say, you know what, I want to do that role? In terms of Banking on Love, what was it that attracted you to that?
The role itself, I thought, was fascinating. I'm 65 years old, and so it's nice to have the opportunity to play my age, if I can put it that way. And it's what I would call a character role. And it was an artistic adventure. Obviously the film itself has a lot of value. It's very meaningful. It's about the strained relationship between a father and his son trying to find his way. And at the end of the day, they both find their way back to the Lord. My character had suffered the loss of a wife, and his business was going down the drain, and just the physicality of not being able to do what you used to do. So it was very appealing artistically. plus the fact that it's a very meaningful, heartwarming film that people are really going to enjoy.
So what is, and you kind of just spoke to it, but I want to give you a chance to drive it home a little bit. What's the lesson you feel? I mean, I feel like I could pull 10 lessons out of what you just said, but the main lesson you're hoping, not only from the role that you play in Banking on Love, but also the film as a whole, that you're hoping the audience walks away with.
They will really identify with these characters. I think a lot of people will identify with my character. Here's a man who's lost his wife, and his ability to conduct his business, and he ends up sitting in an easy chair all day long with his remote in his hand, just getting more bitter and more angry and more cranky, and he takes it out on his son. His son, on the other hand, he doesn't want to go into the family business. He wants to make his own way. And of course, this adds to my character's bitterness. And I think the things that I'm describing are things that millions of people deal with and struggle with. Just the loss of a wife after decades of being together, and how that affects an aging person. There's a lot in this film that people will identify with, and find the encouragement to rise above these same bitternesses, these same doubts and concerns and heartbreaks.
Yeah, that's what's amazing, especially this time of year. I think we talk a lot about at Christmas time, and Thanksgiving and then Christmas, about gratitude and how excited we are and how happy we are and family and love. But for a lot of people, they're struggling. There's probably people listening to this or watching this who are struggling with family or struggling with issues. And it's not always the happiest time of year for people. And so to be able to watch a film that takes you through those real life struggles, there's a lot there, I think, for people that they can glean from it. We don't like to talk about those difficult parts of the holiday season, but they exist for a lot of us.
Yeah, loneliness is a huge, huge thing. Just this morning, my wife and I went for a walk, and there's an elderly lady that lives down the street, and she literally sits in the window and shouts to people passing by, "Hello, hello." She's just longing for company. And these are everyday struggles. Thank God that we can lean on the Lord. Thank God that as children of God, we can take that heartbreak and that loneliness and lay it at his feet. But sadly, there are many people who haven't gotten there yet. So a film like Banking on Love will not only encourage the believer who's experiencing these things, but encourage the non-believer to seek God with all of his or her heart.
That's such a good word. And I think the audience is going to love getting a chance, if they haven't already, to see you in this different role. They're used to you in The Encounter and all the other projects you've been in. And now here you are, a cranky older man in this movie. And, again, couldn't be further from who you are. So I'm excited to see that. But the other thing I've got to ask you about, so let's go back to the beginning of your career. And you and I have talked a lot about this in the past, but it's so important to drive home because your story is incredible. When you first said, I want to go into Hollywood, I want to be an actor, could you have ever in your wildest dreams imagined that you would have been the person who has played Jesus probably more than anybody else, that would have been the direction that your acting life went in?
Not in a million years. Even after I was born again, not in a million years. I started my career in '84, and I was just so excited to land bit parts on episodic shows. My first role was 1 or 2 lines in Murder, She Wrote, and I was so excited to be walking around the Universal lot and whatnot. And it's kind of funny, as a non-believer, in my head, I had arrived, but then fast forward to 1989, without going into the details, I gave my life to Jesus, and I began to understand by God's grace what's truly meaningful, what's truly fulfilling. And the next thing I knew, he presented me with the opportunity to play Jesus in that first film, The Gospel of Matthew. It was a life-altering experience, not only in my personal relationship with the Lord, but in terms of my career. My priorities were all upended. Suddenly getting a role on a sitcom didn't mean that much to me. I remember shortly after returning from filming Matthew, auditioning for a pilot for a sitcom. And I remember sitting in the waiting room at Sony Studios, and I just couldn't get motivated. I had had a taste of real purpose. I'd had a taste of serving God through my work, through my skill, if you will. And suddenly, my lifelong dreams just didn't seem that interesting anymore. So there was a lot of confusion, and at the end of the day, the Lord just continued by his grace to draw me closer to him and draw me closer to opportunities to serve him as an actor. And here I am all these years later, and I just couldn't be more thrilled with the life he gave me.
Well, and you could have said, even though you couldn't motivate yourself, you could have said, look, there's way more money, there's way more fame in this. I'm going to, even though I know God has this for me, I'm going to go over here and do this. A lot of people do that. You could have done it. And, people might find monetary success in that. They might find the fame they're looking for, but it may not be where God wants them. And so it's incredible that you listen to that and that you've continued to listen to that. And it's brought you through so many amazing projects and films and the series, The Encounter, which is also on Pure Flix, and movies like Banking on Love. I mean, you've had a very busy career, even though it's a very different direction than you thought you would have ever gone in. And when you look back at all of that, what is the most rewarding part of the career that you have had?
The most rewarding part is, without question, getting those testimonies, those emails from people that say, I gave my life to Jesus because of this movie. I gave my life. I never, a typical line I've heard many times, and to this day, it just melts my heart. I've been a Christian my whole life, but I never understood who Jesus really was until now. That to me is the payoff. That to me is the bottom line. That to me is why I do what I do. And I just couldn't be more thankful, Billy.
Well, I am so excited always to get a chance to talk with you. And, you've got an incredible story. It's amazing what God has done with your talents, the talents that he has given you. And I'm excited for people to obviously go on Pure Flix, check out The Encounter. There's the films, there's the series, but also, and mainly right now in this season, go and check out Banking on Love. Bruce, thank you so much for coming on today and talking with me.
You're a blessing, Billy. I enjoy it every time. God bless you.